You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure you check out the Glebe Central Pub right in the heart of the Glebe at 779 Bank Street. They've also got the Send Shuttle, $17 round trip to and from the CTC. The next bus is on March 12th against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And oh yeah, that Erik Karlsson guy. So get your tickets at the GlebeCentralPub.com. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller here, soaking up a sixth consecutive loss for the Ottawa Senators. Although for the first time on this losing streak, they do get one loser point. 4-3 was the score. Kevin Fiala gets the game winner. Pilsy, how did you watch this one unfold?
This was a much better game than last night's game, that's for sure. This might have been the most physical game the Ottawa Senators have played all year. There was a lot of animosity between these two teams. Ross, our good pal, former Sens, Andreas Englund, was absolutely, his wires were crossed tonight. Him and Brady were going at it all night. He throws down Parker Kelly after a hit he didn't like. So there was a lot of physicality in this one. So that at least makes it exciting for a team in the Ottawa Senators that had nothing going for them. But unfortunately, Ross, although this is a good loss for the tank, you still get 1 point. But DJ Smith gets the last laugh here as they showed him on the bench after. He was pretty stoked about that win.
And why wouldn't he be, right?
Yeah.
He basically said, hey, look, I might have been a part of the problem, but no more than anybody else who's still there and still finding new ways to lose like the Senators did tonight. For the second consecutive game, Pilsy, the Senators opened the scoring too, and then they weren't able to do much after that. And credit to Cam Talbot tonight. An old
Timmy's number.
It wasn't the same as Dostal last night, who won the game for the Anaheim Ducks, but Talbot was pretty solid tonight, and especially against Timmy. And dude, Timmy is very frustrated right now.
Yeah, it's not going. The fact that he still doesn't have a power play goal is absolutely insane. But Timmy should have had a hat trick tonight. He had 3 grade A chances that he just was not able to bury. Now you got a hashtag goalie friendly show. Sure, you don't want to see former goalie Cam Talbot be able to pull those big saves off up against the Sens, but he did make some good saves there. But a guy of Timmy's caliber and the amount of space he had to make those plays, all 3 of them early on in this game, you got to bury at least one of those, least.
Especially when you look down at the other end of the ice and Quinton Byfield gets on the board in tonight's game.
Oh, that was tough, Ross. That was the first thing I thought of. Timmy can't buy a goal, and then Quinton Byfield just walks in and gets a really nice one on a great individual play right in the slot there.
LA improves to 6-0-2 in their last 8 games against Ottawa. The other overtime loss, though, was last year in LA when Tim Stützle got the Celine Dion treatment from you, sending Claude Giroux in on that breakaway. He made no mistake there, but just pretty disappointing, I think, based on the way that I thought the Sens played well in the first half of this game. And then it felt like throughout the second period, the puck was a lot more in their own zone. And Korpisalo, this isn't a goalie loss for me either, but It's another night where at the end of the day, you look and the Sens goaltending is under 900. It's too often, and there's bigger picture stuff beyond just the goalie making saves, but you got to be above 900 to win in the National Hockey League. It's about as simple as that.
Yeah, definitely that's a fair comment. But as far as looking at Korpisalo's body of work as an Ottawa Senator, this is in the upper half of his better games. That's for sure. This was not a classic Korpisalo game where you're like, well, this team's not going to have a chance to win, or he lets in a squeaker or something like that. So no qualms for me about the goaltending in tonight's game.
So what was the difference for you in tonight's game then?
It's tough because the Sens were right there this whole game. They kind of matched the LA Kings intensity level, which is what you want to see. I guess just the game breakers for LA were able to pop through more than the Ottawa Senators. We mentioned it, Timmy not being able to get it done, his counterpart Byfield being able to get it done. And then in overtime, unfortunately for me, I know there's a lot of discussion who's to blame on that overtime goal. I'm looking at Tim Stützle a little bit more than other people on that goal. Kevin Fiala just straight up wants that puck more than him and gets to it a second time and is able to kind of whack it past Korpisalo there. So that's where I guess you got to look at this and you're like, that's a nice play by Fiala. He wanted it more. He gets the overtime winner. But ultimately, Ross, this is a game I'm not really that upset with the Ottawa Senators for. This wasn't a pathetic effort. It was a good, high-intensity game that they're able to take to overtime up against a decent team in the LA Kings. So this probably isn't a vent cast or even a full tank cast. This might be a fine cast, Ross.
It's fine, and it's worse because Arizona lost in regulation tonight. If we're doing the scoreboard watching thing already, they got their regulation loss to Minnesota, so that's not great. But the chips will fall where they may. It is super unfortunate when you're leading with 10 minutes left in the game, though, that you can't close it out. That to me is the problem. And you give up a guy's first goal of the year, Jacob more rare. That's how I like my steak. He gets his first goal of the season. He was literally on waivers today. He cleared waivers today. Also signed an extension. It was for money and all that, but
it was for money.
well, like for cap reasons.
Oh, okay. I was like, usually that's why players sign extensions, Ross.
No, I meant for waivers. Gotcha. All right, let me run through here. This is the goal. So Zub goes behind the net, backhand clear. He gets kind of inched out. Roy wins that battle, so you want Zub to win that battle. Then Fiala wins the battle and spins off Timmy, and yeah, I'd say 65% Timmy and 35% Zub, because if Zub can get the puck out, then it's no problem. And also once Zub sees that Timmy's in trouble, look, I know Matt Roy is sneaking down back door, but if Zub kind of collapses on Fiala, that's a tough play for him. And you've also got Giroux kind of collapsing down that way as well. And not like Matt Roy's probably the least dangerous player on the ice in overtime as well, offensively at least. So it's an unfortunate, it's a highlight reel goal for Kevin Fiala, though. Like spin and puts it upstairs.
That's the thing. Like, as much as it's not a great optic for Timmy there, I think it's more of a hat tip to Fiala being able to get in that spot and get it up high on Corpy. I'm not sure if it knocks off Zub's stick there or not, but either way, most of it is a good play by Fiala.
It is. So Ottawa loses this game 4-3 in overtime. They're going to stay in Los Angeles until the trade deadline. So they're going to hunker up at the hotel, and we'll see. Maybe it'll be like The Bachelor, where everyone leaves their bags outside, or the person comes into the room and gets the bag and walks it down when a guy gets traded. It's it's a weird time of year for a player. I cannot stress that enough. And we talked to Mark Mathod about just an awkward dynamic around the locker room, but there were some bright spots in this game, Pilsy. There really were for the Ottawa Senators, and I want to touch on a few of those after a quick break. But before we get to that break, Pilsy, let's do one Send Central standout each for this game.
Okay. You want to hit yours first?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to go with Drake Batherson, who scored the tying goal, 22nd goal of the year. Pilsy, that ties his career high in goals that he set last season in 82 games. He did it in game 61 this season. So Drake Batherson, I don't even know if it's that quietly, but I think he's been hot lately, but he's also just having a good year. Like, I think this has been a very good storyline for Ottawa, for a guy who's signed under $5 million for 4 more seasons. He's a guy who is stepping up and showing that, look, it might take a little extra time to get back from a bum ankle, but Batherson gets a goal and assist, leads the team tonight. He sits 4th in the team in expected goals as well. I just thought he was all over the ice tonight, and I wanted to give him some props just for tying that career high and also being a positive impact player in tonight's game.
Yeah, I really feel like Batherson has done a good job of letting his shot do the talking for him, right? Like before, it was, okay, he's a two-way guy, he's going to play well defensively. Not so much recently, the last couple seasons, but if you can make up for that by scoring more goals and using that elite shot that he has, like I feel like he's been a more effective trigger man this season than Josh Norris or even like Jacob Chikrin or maybe not Tarasenko, but like guys that were supposed to be triggermen for this team, it really seems like Batherson has kind of been leading the charge there.
Yeah, he really has. People in the chat saying this was from Mighty Mike, said Norris's contracts offsets Batherson's contract. But Batherson's been great, man. So a 2-point game for Drake Batherson tonight. So he'll be my Send Central standout.
Nice. I'm going to go with, I agree, with negative capabilities here. Pinto was solid too. Great effort to keep that play alive. Yeah. Pinto,
he's a stud.
Pinto is my Send Central standout.
We need a Shane Pinto extension tomorrow. Like we sometimes see those around the trade deadline. There's no reason not to. He's up to 18 points in 20 games this season.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I would love that, Ross, but I think Steve Stais needs to work the phones with trades rather than extensions.
Yeah, bonus can take care of the deals.
Sure.
I mean, they've had, 41 games worth of time to discuss the contract. They end up settling on a 1 year. We heard 5 years was on the table and close. So I think they've got a pretty good kind of idea of what the contract is going to look like. I think they should pull trigger on it. I think it would give some good press to the team out of the trade deadline for a guy who is pretty easy from the outside to see as a part of the core of this team and should be treated as such.
Do you think that maybe it's not the Sens management that's holding up this deal?
No, because I think about it, like Pinto should kind of have his tail between his legs a little bit. He missed 41 games for a mistake that he's owned up to, and I don't think that the Sens should hold it against him. I don't think they should squeeze him on a contract and pay him way below market value. But if they're close, I don't think Pinto's trying to squeeze the Sens for every dollar after this 41-game suspension.
Yeah, maybe. I
also don't feel like he's the kind of guy who's going to demand every penny. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
But Ross, I'm sure his agent is probably telling him, look, Shane, you missed 41 games worth of pay and you had to take a league minimum deal for half a year. Why don't we wait things out and try to get that money back on the back half of this next contract we're signing, right?
Yeah, I'm with Mark Morris. I think you offer him the same deal you gave Batherson. 6 years, just under $5 million per.
Yeah.
That's a lot up front for a guy who's played, 120 NHL games?
It's not that I don't believe in Pinto, Ross. It's how many times are we going to give young players locked up long-term deals out of their entry-level contracts?
They're gonna
I don't know if that's been a great strategy so far. Anyways, that was a good little side tangent to my Sens Central standout of Pinto. Look, I probably came off like I was chopping down Pinto there, but no, I want to elevate him. He was great in this game, and yeah, that play that negative capability was talking about there. Pinto diving and poking at the puck to keep it alive, gets it to Zub, and Zub, nice heads up play, sees Batherson on the far side, passes on the tape, and Batherson one times it in. That was definitely Pinto's best play of the night. He was ripping the puck on net. He finishes the game with 3 shots on goal, 20 and a half minutes there, 57.1% in the faceoff dot. I'm just checking what those final numbers were. 8 for 14, so pretty solid there. So a nice night for Shane Pinto, and I've really liked what he's been able to do on a line with Brady Tkachuk. Yeah,
no doubt. And I thought that line adding Batherson to it was a nice touch tonight for the Ottawa Senators. Pinto with 3 shots on goal, and Pilsy, 2031 is the most Shane Pinto has played in a single game this season. That's a season high. Previously, it was the win against Toronto. The Ridley Gregg game was his previous high. He had 3 points in that game. So in games that Shane Pinto plays over 20 minutes, he has 5 points in 2 games. So play the kid more. Play the kid more. And look, the record is not as sparkling as it once was, but now we can add an OT loss. Therefore, when Shane Pinto has 2 or more points, the Senators all time are 6-2-2. When he has 1 point, the Senators are 35-8-6. And they are 9-7-3 when he plays this season. Sorry, 9-8-3. I didn't update it after the Flyers game. And he had a point in the Flyers game too, didn't he? Just one, though.
Can't remember.
Yeah, just
probably.
One. Yeah, probably. Nope. No points in the Anaheim game. Sorry, last night. So talk about a tangent, Pillsy. That's what these late night postcasts are for, though, honestly.
Yeah, it's almost 2 in the morning here. Shout out to everyone in the chat. 122 people here. You guys are the
Amazing.
best.
Amazing. Well, I want to get to a couple other things in this game, but first, let me tell you about the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is right in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. Y'all know that the Glebe Central Pub is the best way to go when you want to have a great time at the game and leave your keys at home. Just get to the pub an hour and 30 minutes before the game, even earlier if you want to have a bite, a beer, you name it. And then Sue will take you right to the CTC and back after the game. So make sure you get your tickets online, GlebeCentralPub.com. The Glebe Central Pub shuttle is running for the March 12th game, Tuesday. Go celebrate LOSP's 1000th episode on the Glebe Central Pub shuttle Tuesday against Pittsburgh. Get your tickets online. The GCP, where the vibes are free. Go check them out and go follow them on social media as well. Glebe Central Pub. They'll let you know all the great events from open mic night to trivia night and a whole lot more. Go check them out today. Glebe Central Pub.
The vibes are free at the GCP, Ross. We love it. This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. If you guys are trying to hire for your business, you need Indeed. It's the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills. Why would you do that when you can do it with Indeed? With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Sit back, relax, let Indeed do the hard work for you, sponsor a job, and boom. Instant Match is going to show you candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your job description immediately after you post. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you got to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Need to vent? You need the Postcast. After a 4-3 Sens overtime loss to the Los Angeles Kings, the Sens will continue their road through California Saturday when they take on the San Jose Sharks, but it is a afternoon game on the West Coast, so it's going to be a 6 o'clock start Eastern time for
7
this
Eastern.
Game.
You're in
7
Central.
Eastern. I know. I get my time zones mixed up, as
Fair.
we know here on this show. A reminder, we're going to have a little bit different episode coming up in the morning because we're going to do our live stream at 3 o'clock when the trade deadline passes and wrap up the league, and obviously from a Sens perspective. But we're going to have an interview for you, double interview for you in the morning. Vladimir Nikitin and Abby Murphy. 2 awesome interviews, great vibes, just a little something different for trade deadline. I know we've talked a lot of rumors, but that's something a little different. So check that in your podcast feed. We're going to schedule it for 7 a.m. So it'll be right there for you in the morning as well. We can check that out right after the
We're finishing the episode after the postcast. We're on the grind to get you guys your content as early as possible.
It's been awesome. And we had Mark Mathod on today. So if you haven't caught up on that, you can do that later on as well. Pilsy, I went with a positive spin for the title in this episode. They earned their first road point against the Western Conference. They
did it.
That's remarkable that it's March 8th, March 7th. I guess I'll give them credit for when the game started, not when it ended. March 7th, their first point, and they didn't even win the game.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that is not how long you want it to take just to be able to muster up a single point.
1 point.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's tough. Pills, yeah, any thoughts from you? Because we can. I am curious, and I want to get to this. Jacques Martin spoke to the media after the game, so we have that audio for you. But do you want to say anything before we get to it?
Yeah, mostly I really liked that this was a physical game for the Ottawa Senators. I thought Korpisalo was better than he usually is, so you love to see that. And it was just good to see some fight from this team. And I will note Brady did a good job of staying physical and showing, hey, he's not going to back down without taking things too far. The old Brady would have fought Andreas Englund there, and we don't need that. We don't need that.
That's a big tree to bark up. We've seen him in Belleville throw some haymakers. He can fight.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a good business decision not to take that fight. So overall, good tank loss. You bring it into overtime. Fiala makes a nice play. What can you do?
And thank you very much to Joshua Worth and Negative Capabilities. We'll get to those super chats after we hear from Sens head coach. Here is Jacques Martin.
The 2 points that you were hoping for, but obviously lots to like from your team's game here tonight.
Yeah, I thought we competed hard. Right from the start, I thought, they're a big, heavy team, and I thought that we did a good job with our play, controlling the puck in the offensive zone. I think, we created several good scoring chances. We could have scored a couple more. We missed some great opportunities, but I thought that we competed hard, and unfortunately, we only got the 1 point.
What did you see from your goaltender tonight?
I thought he gave us a strong game. He made some big saves when called upon. I think he was very effective in that.
How much of a shift was it in that middle of the game? Talbot makes just an unbelievable kind of a glove save on Timmy, and then Byfield comes back. And what's kind of you've talked so much about managing emotions. I'm not sure you can get more of a swing in a game. What's going on in your bench during that?
Well, I think, you just want to bounce back quickly. I think, you don't control what the other team does. I mean, it was a great save. It was a great play. And then, we talked about it, when they got the puck in their zone, they stretch a man and they hit him. And so, we make a mistake and it's in our net. But I thought we rebounded well after that. We came back, we scored again, and were able to take the lead. And so I thought overall it was a great effort.
Tim Stützle had some amazing chances, and it feels like he's getting robbed. What do you tell a player like that is going through a stretch like this?
Well, I think, you just got to stay with it. I mean, he probably had 3 great opportunities tonight. So, I mean, you're concerned if he's not getting any opportunities. But when you do get some opportunities, you just got to, just stay with it and be patient and stay the course.
It's fresh, and maybe you haven't seen the film. What do you think about the overtime?
Well, I think, how we played. Like, yeah. I thought, it was good overtime. We had the one chance there with Pinto, and then unfortunately we kind of fumbled the puck, and they got it back, and they were able to score.
Sounds like Jacques thinks maybe more Artem Zub on the failed clear. Coaches hate defensemen that can't get the puck out of the zone, and that was obviously a failed opportunity there. It brings us actually to Negative Capability, who's on the defensive topic here, asking what's the over-under on Erik Brandstrom and JBD both, or.
And/or?
Grab an oar and get paddling. Erik Brandstrom, Jacob Bernard-Docker. Why don't we do a percentages of each one? You believe that they're getting traded by the deadline 3 p.m. on Friday.
Well, it feels like to me that JBD only within today has been kind of tossed into the trade rumors.
Well, Bruce Garriock said he's drawing a bit of interest. That's kind of where it came from.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's not like we had heard this leading up to the deadline, Ross. We didn't include him in our trade bait board or anything like that. So it seems like a little bit of a new thing. But right shot defensemen that are under team control are definitely a sought after commodity here. So it makes sense, I guess. I'm going to say 65% chance Brandy gets traded and a 30% chance JBD gets traded. I think the Sens like JBD and want to give him a little bit more time here. Now, obviously, it's a new regime, so it's not like they're the ones that drafted this guy and believed in him and put the concentration calories into JBD here. But if I had to choose, I think I would rather keep JBD at this time anyways.
Yeah, I'd say probably 25% for JBD. I'll go as far as 50% for Erik Brandstrom. Brandy's making $2 million and an RFA after this season.
With our rights.
JBD has one more year at $805K. Like, that's where his value really is having a guy who is a serviceable, I think, third pair defenseman. I think that's probably where you'd slot him right now. At that stage, though, like, if you want to rebuild the decor, like Mark Mathot says, with more sandpaper, he doesn't play with a whole lot of sandpaper. So that could be where he's replaceable. But that to me is more of a summer thing and or even like a throw in a bigger trade, honestly. Whereas Erik Brandstrom sounds like, I don't know who said it, but maybe they're looking for a second round draft pick for him. Good luck. You want to feel
Yeah.
old? Brandy's going to be 25 years old at the start of next season.
Yeah.
Not a prospect. Not a prospect.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Definitely those are the two kind of minor deals that you're looking at. 6 should hopefully garner some more interest, and we'll see if things keep moving on that trade discussion, because I didn't love his play in the neutral zone that ultimately led to the Byfield goal either.
Yeah. The only problem with him is, like, you look what Noah Hannafin got on the trade market, and it's like, would you be happy with that sort of return? I guess there's a first round pick in there.
Yeah, I think I might. And just Ross, like, if you want to shake things up, I think that's a good way to do it, and it just gives you more flexibility moving forward here. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
no doubt. And then Joshua was just giving us some stick taps for the dedication. We appreciate the dedication from all you citizens who are here venting and vibing with us after each and every Ottawa Senators game. If this was a season where Ottawa was battling for a playoff spot, and maybe they had beaten Anaheim last game and they had this effort and lost in overtime, we'd be like, all right, we're on to San Jose. You get a point, you move it on. Let's get 5 out of 6 in California. Let's do it. Let's do it. Instead, now they've got 1 point in 2 games. The trade deadline's tomorrow or Friday, because we're in the early hours of Friday morning. And then you're going to San Jose. And San Jose is coming off a 7-2 loss tonight to the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
So it's just, we're kind of judging these games on a bit of a scale right now. And should we get a spin in just for the people? Just to wrap it up
yeah. The spin is the closing segment of the postcast moving forward.
But we're not going to keep the stats until it's set at the end of the season, and we'll do it every show, 1 spin each.
Yes.
And 1 for the citizens between the end of the season and the trade and the draft lottery, which is usually like the day the playoffs start. It's usually like, hey, all you loser teams, gather up. We're going to put it on the pregame show. You know how we know that, though, right? Because it's been 7 straight years.
We're very familiar with that process. Yeah.
Amazing. But you don't want to win it.
No, I was thinking about this more. I know people are loving that clip, and everyone's
it's hilarious.
Dunking on it, and that's fine. That's fine. But I just feel like having the 2nd overall pick is just a comfier place to be. It's less pressure for that kid coming in. He doesn't feel like he has to be the savior. I'm sticking with my take. It's half bit, half actual take.
You know that if we win the draft lottery and get Macklin Celebrini on this podcast, I'm going to tell him you don't want him.
No.
Yeah,
Ross,
I will.
Show me 1 clip. Watch the tape of me saying I don't want Celebrini. I never said that.
You said you don't want 1st overall. He's 1st overall.
If he came to 2nd overall, run up to the stage and grab him. Nothing wrong with that.
You're nuts.
I'll buy a Celebrini jersey and happily wear it.
Okay, deal.
Yeah,
deal.
It'll be like the Nick Spence tweet, where that's just going to be a running bit for me. I didn't want him, but I love him.
Okay. Would you like to let's let the citizens spin first.
Sure. Yeah,
Ottawa with the 6th best odds now, because Arizona got the loss, so Ottawa's got games in hand. Ottawa with the 6th best odds for the 1st overall pick. And Anaheim wins the draft lottery here. Chicago moves down 1 spot. Seattle jumps 10 spots all the way up to number 3. Look, in this situation, Ottawa drafts 7th, but they're only the 2nd Eastern Conference team. So I feel less bad about that. I feel reasonable about that. All right. Pilsy, your spin.
Hit it.
Okay. Chicago first. Columbus jumps up 2 spots to number 2. Ottawa drafts 6th overall.
We don't like that.
We don't like that. And Montreal jumps up 5 spots to number 2. Chicago drafts 1st overall. Again, Ottawa moves down to number 7. That was a brutal set of spins. That was a brutal set of spins right there.
Way she goes.
Instead of final thoughts, Pilsy, Jimmy Stew has a question for us.
Jimmy.
Ross and Pilsy, pick 2 defensemen, 1 goalie, and 6 forwards to keep. I guess this is kind of expansion draft rules.
Yes, this is Salt Lake City expansion.
This is Salt Lake City expansion. I know what he's trying to get us to do.
Yeah,
Jimmy, we've
definitely.
been seeing you in the chat. We know what you're trying to get us to say here.
So I'm keeping Zub 100%.
The first.
um,
Do we have to keep a goalie?
yeah, Sogard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mads is good. Mads is good.
Sandy and Shabbat are your 2D.
Yeah.
Sogard's the goalie. As Brady Tkachuk said, he's going to be the goalie that helps them get to the Stanley Cup. So you want him around.
Okay. Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Claude Giroux, Shane Pinto, Drake Batherson.
The 6th one is interesting. Ridley Gregg, probably.
Ridley Gregg.
Yeah. Or maybe Matthew Joseph.
No, Ridley Gregg over Joseph. Upside, more years. Yeah. So we're letting Norris walk.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel confident with that.
Yeah, I feel
That's a
good
good question, though. That's a good brain teaser at 2:15 in the morning.
Yeah. Look at us.
Our brains struggle at
Best of
100%.
times.
And
Yeah.
it feels like we're getting a pretty unanimous in agreement with that. That's a great question, though. Appreciate that, Jimmy's. Pilsy, 4-3 overtime loss. Usually we go through and mention all the stats. So why don't I do that on the way out? I'll get some final thoughts from you, and we'll pass it over to the interviews that will be coming out very shortly. 4-3, the Senators will lose in overtime. Kevin Fiala got the game winner. For the Ottawa Senators, they get goals. Well, the opening goal of the game included Dominic Kubalik, great tip. Jake Sanderson and Tim Stützle get the assist on a power play goal. Ottawa's second goal came from Brady Tkachuk. Assists go to Shane Pinto and Drake Batherson. And then Batherson finishes off a beautiful play from Artem Zub and Shane Pinto. That tied the game with under 5 minutes remaining. Shots on goal favor LA 35-31. Ottawa goes 1 for 4 on the power play. LA doesn't have a single one. Both teams go 50% in the faceoff dots, and LA gets 60% of the shot share at 5-on-5. LA out hits Ottawa 29-15 and outblocks them 23-19. Pilsy, final thoughts on today's postcast.
This was overall not a terrible loss like we're used to the Ottawa Senators doing this season, especially on the road up against Western Conference teams. So you know what? Let's just take this for what it is. Take the 1 point as a glass half full scenario. It can be good, it can be bad, depending on how you want to look at it. And tomorrow's the big day. Like I feel like, Ross, I'm stuck between like anxious energy and just being like nothing is going to happen. Like part of me is like this will be a big day, and part of me is like this could just be we're just going to roll through that day, and the same team is going to be around here moving forward.
We'll talk about it more a little bit on tomorrow's podcast, but I think Kubalik getting to 10 goals, like being in double digits, could
huge
attract the GM. He's got 10 goals.
And a power play goal. Get this guy on your second unit for a long cup run, people. Come on.
All right, Pilsy. Like you mentioned, we're going to record Locked On Senators right now. It'll be your podcast feeds earlier rather than later in the day. And a reminder, set your clocks 3 p.m. Eastern, right when the trade deadline hits. We'll go live and break it all down. For tonight, we say goodbye and good night. Get some sleep. It's going to be a busy Friday for everyone. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat here. We certainly appreciate those 125 of you who stayed up to 2 o'clock, 2:15 a.m. Eastern time. If you're listening to this in the car, we appreciate you just as well. The citizens, man, wouldn't be doing it without you. We really do appreciate it. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another Tankcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure you're visiting the Glebe Central Pub wherever you are in Ottawa. You're never too far from the Glebe Central Pub. 779 Bank Street and the Send Shuttle for only $17 round trip. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.